welcome back. This is the ninth video in the series for the Flow Certified Professional online training. In this video, we're going to go through the Flow formula. And the Flow formula is relatively simple and straightforward. It's vision plus right people plus the 4D model equals flow. And if you're in flow, you've just increased your chance to be very successful. The flow formula is the basis of the friction analysis, the flow friction analysis, and we're going to go through that in the next video. But I wanted to share some stories here about vision, right people, and the 4D model, and how to step into flow, both as an individual and as a team, and ultimately then with your product, program, process, management, portfolio, all the way up to the whole organization. There's an old proverb that says, where there's no vision, the people perish. They die. It's pretty simple. There's another translation of that into English where it says, where there's no vision, the people cast off restraint. And what's interesting is we see that happening all over the globe right now, especially when people are feeling that there's a lot of injustice in the world. You see them casting off restraint and responding in a way that I don't believe creates the results that anybody wants. And so I think that a lot of companies are making ill-advised choices about which side to support, and make no mistake about it, there are sides. But for vision in Swedish, that same proverb basically uses a word in Swedish for casting off restraint, where it's the word picture of a barn full of horses where you open up the door and the horses just storm out of the barn and run off every direction. That is the ultimate of casting off restraint. We even use that word picture in English, letting all the horses out of the barn. It's hard to put them back in once they're out in the fields and running over the horizon, and that's the last you saw of them. And so it's really important for leaders, whether it's business or governmental or organizational, anywhere, to have a vision that's compelling. Otherwise, you're not going to keep the people with. That's simple and straight up front. And that's something that's taught even in the military academies. We'll talk about this again when we talk about VSPT. And when we look at right people, this is interesting to me because, always get what you would consider the right people for a project. But it really comes into play like for teams. I can give a couple examples from the sports world. One for football. In America, we call it soccer. Everywhere else, they call it football. Where the Swedish national team was struggling. And they had a superstar on the team, Zlatan. And the 1 year before when he was with it was not going well for the team. They were losing. It was not looking good or promising. What's interesting is that when Zlatan got hurt, or for some reason he couldn't be with the national team the next year, as a team they had no identifiable superstar on their team, because Zlatan is a superstar up in the Champions League in world football. And it turned out that that team was able to qualify for the World Cup not having any superstar on the team. It became a true team. And so when you're looking at this and applying it to business, you can take teams with no identifiable superstar and help them perform at World Cup level. Okay? And it's the same in basketball. At the end of the Chicago Bulls' reign, as they were coming in after 8 or 10 years of being at the top, it was interesting that Michael Jordan was still a superstar. I mean, he could throw down 40, 50 points in a game routinely and perform at the highest level. But in basketball, it's not enough for one superstar to step into flow, individual flow. In order to get the team to step into flow, you need, in my view, at least two people to step into flow. And you see it in that last season when the team was still together and it still had Scottie Pippen on that team. And what was interesting is Scottie had gotten hurt the season before, and he scheduled his surgery in such a way so that he was going to miss at least the first half of that last season. Without Scottie, when Scottie would step into flow, and Michael stepped into flow, there was nobody on the planet that could beat the Bulls. They were performing at the highest level. They were superstars. But what was interesting is that the replacement, well, he wasn't really a replacement, he was on the team already, but Dennis Rodman, who they brought over from the Pistons, he wasn't able to fill the gap of Scottie not stepping into flow. And so there was a lot of mismatch there. And so Michael stepping into flow made no difference. Even the worst teams in the NBA were able to beat the Bulls. Okay? So when you're looking at right people and being able to step into flow, I'd rather have a team with no identifiable superstar where I can get two people to step into flow and take the rest of the team with, versus having a superstar and four other people who don't know how to step into flow and who have a completely different rhythm and they're out of sync and nothing works and they end up just, it's a disaster. Okay. The 4D model, again, goes back to vision. And without having a team vision that they can rally around, what is it that we want to be? Well, for the Bulls, they were rallying around, we want to be world champions. And they want to do that over and over and over again. Well, that's a vision that they could rally around. But as over time, that vision, after they had achieved that, that vision was not as compelling as it was when they were trying to achieve it. And so in the heart of the 4D model is the vision, and vision is becoming more and more important, just like we stated earlier. Where there's no vision, people cast off restraint, and everybody does what's right in their own eyes. And if that's happening to your team, it's like herding cats. You know, they're all heading off every which direction, and it's just like, it's every day it's a different circus. Okay. And so you need to have a clear vision that's compelling, memorable, easy to repeat, and short. And if it's not those things, you're going to get into trouble really fast. And then you need to have the right definitions, the distillation, the delivery, and the drive. And we're going to go through that in the other videos. But right here, I'm going to tell you, if you don't get your definitions right, you don't have to have all your definitions up front. But if you don't get the key definitions correct, what's your definition of success for starters? How do we know when this team has succeeded? Okay, if you haven't defined your goals in relationship to the vision, mission, and strategies of the company, you're in big trouble. Okay, you're gonna see that, and the results of not having those things in place in the flow friction analysis, it will create friction, and as that friction increases, the team's just gonna knot up, and it's gonna stop. It's not going to work. You're not going to step into flow. You're going to be an anti-flow. And I can pretty much guarantee you probably won't succeed. Okay? So it's really important to understand the elements and parts of this very simple formula. It's simple to understand. It's not easy to make it happen. So, in a recap, we're about 17% done. So, we've only done about 1% more of the slides. We looked at the flow formula. And so, here's the application. You need to write out short, memorable, repeatable. If you are not able to remember the vision for your company or the vision for your department or your team, your company, division, and team just might be in trouble. Okay. And it needs to be short so that you can repeat it easily. And Nokia had one of the best mission statements ever. And a mission statement is the business that you're in. And it was 2 words, and everybody used it. They used it for their marketing slogan. It was connecting people. And this is back in the early 2000s. And most elegant mission statement ever. And it was very easy to reverse engineer the vision statement out of that. It was to be connecting the 4 billion who weren't with the 2 billion who were. Okay, so the 4 billion people who weren't using mobile devices, we wanted them to be able to get mobile devices so that they could connect with the 2 billion people who already were at that time. And, you know, this is 15, 20 years ago. So your application for this is, have you ever taken the time to write out your personal vision statement? What is it that you want to be? Okay. Then your team should do the exercise of what is it that we want to be as a team. Same for your products, programs, and then getting up to the portfolio level in the organization. Just had a couple of the coaches and trainers for Flow do the vision exercise with a company recently. And once again, they were able to demonstrate very quickly how the team, the leadership was not in alignment with each other. And for the team members that were with, it became very clear to them very quickly is like, oh, which vision are we supposed to actually lock onto radar wise and say, okay, this is our way forward. And so the leadership team realized that they were much further apart than they thought. Okay, and the leadership team had the vision for what they were trying to do. Plus, they had a vision for Agile, so that they were actually working with a couple visions there. And so the application of this is simple. It's not easy, and it takes a lot of work. And if you're not able to distill your vision down into something that's short, memorable, repeatable, then this is where you need an experienced Flow certified coach or trainer to come in alongside you, your leadership teams, your teams, and help them actually get those distilled. It's worth multiples of the investment that you'll make in doing that.